Good evening, everyone. I'm Francis Nicholas. I have myself, my wife, and my daughter pictured here. It's an old picture, but it's one of my favorites. They are the most important thing to me in the entire world, so I thought it would be relevant to share. I currently teach in the Eastern New York School District at the high school. My area of expertise is technology education, which, contrary to most people who don't understand education, is not just computers, so the online experience is relatively new to me. Courses that I normally teach include Wood Manufacturing 1, 2, and 3. Wood 1 starts off with very traditional designed projects, machine safety, tool safety, proper operations, things of that nature. Wood 2 gets much more into the design aspect of creating projects, more involved processes, advanced joinery and things. Wood 3 is completely different in that students drive the course. We create a business of their own where they design and produce their own projects. Those projects or products are then marketed and manufactured in a mass quantity so that they can market those to the local community. Pictured in the lower left are some of the Adirondack chairs that we have done in the past that was extremely successful. The students created these chairs, they sold them to other teachers and some of the local community members, and used the profit from the initial production run and purchased more materials so that each of the students in the course was able to produce a chair or two for themselves at absolutely no cost. So it was pretty amazing. They did a great job. People are still asking for them 2 years later. We've done them 2 consecutive years, and I still just have people looking for them. So they did a great job. It was a lot of fun. Push the Limits is a new course that I've actually had the opportunity to design. This is only my 4th year at Eastern. We've been teaching this course for 3 years. It's a work in progress based on materials testing. We do a lot of problem-solving activities, give the kids a lot of freedom to develop and design things. So it's a great experience, a lot of hands-on work. Hobbies and interests. For the last 18 years, I've been bowling with my younger brother. We have been on a team in the same league for 18 years. We're not the best. We don't have the best record, but we have a lot of fun. For a long time, that's the only time that I ever see my brother, because he has children that kind of consume his everything. So it's a great time. Get to spend time with my brother and my friends. So that's nice. I also work as a volunteer coach. The past 2 years, I've worked as a JV head baseball coach at Eastern New York. And starting this year, I did step down so that I could focus on my graduate programs and not so much on my extracurricular activities. So I'm going to volunteer as much as I possibly can, but take care of school first. I also coach 7- and 8-year-old football. So this would be the first year that kids are eligible to play football. Very interesting, trying to teach fundamentals to 7-year-olds who already know everything about how to play the game. So interesting, to say the least. My experiences of online classes is very limited. I've been at Mooresville for my entire higher education career and very limited experience with the D2L program. This is only my 2nd course. Both courses have used the D2L exclusively. I think I'm finally getting the hang of it, so we'll get there. Eastern New York has established a One-to-World initiative, which is very much driven by the Google platform. So I use a lot of Google Drive. I've actually created all my safety review sheets, my safety quizzes. Everything can be found online for my students. So this, in effect, is like a flipped classroom. So it's online, but by flipping allows them a lot more time to work in the labs and get a greater hands-on experience. So it's working out really well, and I'm looking for new ways to upload videos and things to give them even more time with a hands-on approach in the classroom or in the lab. The first statement that caught my eye as far as our overview goes is the good teaching is good teaching from the YouTube video. There are some areas of this that make complete sense to me. One of my mentors, if you will, an assistant principal that I work with. He also coaches, he's semi-retired principal and coaches with me, made a comment that good teachers could teach in a cardboard box. And I completely believe this, depending upon what they're teaching. A good teacher can teach standards and achievement in any area that they are focused in. So I completely believe that they would be very effective, especially when you're talking about what drives what success is in our current state of standardized test scores, which I'm very much looking forward to the Every Student Succeeds Act, kind of taking a step back from our standardized test scores and getting more about what is success. So looking forward to that. I think that it's an extremely valuable tool for some learners, but I truly don't believe that it's the end-all be-all. There are students out there that need to be away from groups, that can't focus in a classroom setting. So I think for those students, this makes complete sense, and teachers are probably doing a great job focusing on those kind of students. The other area that I think really would be beneficial, and it's not so much a teaching aspect, but the discipline that comes along with the online instruction. At the high school, one of our biggest issues is he said, she said stuff and the distractions that go on from who says what and things like that. In an online classroom, I would imagine that those things are not quite as prevalent. You don't have to worry about those interactions, so the discipline would be much easier to control. I do believe that it's an overgeneralization in some ways. In a brick and mortar school, we do more than just teach achievement. It's more than just standardized testing. I think that socialization is an important role that is played in a brick and mortar school setting. Student to student, learning to work with peers and work and talk to your peers and how to get along with people, I think is invaluable. Everybody needs to learn that. And with this technology frenzy that many of the students are in, I've seen students, sit next to each other and text back and forth rather than turn and verbally communicate. So I think it's very important that students are in school to have that kind of basic knowledge to work with each other. I also think teacher to student interactions are incredibly important. Teachers are great role models. I think the more positive role models that children see, the better chances of them being successful in a community become. Something as simple as manners, even in a high school setting, kids don't realize that they don't say please, they don't say thank you, they don't say excuse me. And not to say that parents aren't great role models for these things, but I think that occasionally those are things that kind of get overlooked. You just get so used to things happening when you're in the same setting all the time that teachers can add to that focusing on those kind of just something as simple as manners. So I think that happens at schools, and I think in a online setting there is no need for that, and parents don't get out of that rut and don't see things all the time. So the second statement that really caught my eye was the statement about reducing our vulnerabilities. If I'm reading this correctly, I think this was just a strategy to limit attachment, allowing teachers to not be so personally attached and not get personal involvement, so that they can be more objective when it comes to testing and making sure students are getting to where they need to be. You remove yourself as a person and you're just teaching and going through the motions to make sure that they get the fundamentals that they need, and it's a very objective approach. So I think that strategy makes sense when you're talking about achievement as far as standardized tests and things like that. I think online thoroughness needs to be much, much more heightened when it comes to being organized and putting together lesson plans and finding support for these students as individuals. In a situation where you have that personal involvement, you can see what students need. You can see that one student is understanding a little bit faster, a little bit better than another student. You can pair them up and work with them a little bit more. So I think that the online situation takes a lot more work. So I don't think that they're quite equal, and I think that online you'd have to be much more on top of your game to be effective. As far as the standards go, the one area that really jumped out at me in the commercials was they talked about the individual learning plans. I think this has pros and cons. Standards B, C, and F all reference teachers focusing on individual needs and taking care of what students need and meeting their expectations. I think that allows the teacher to really target individual students, and they can put together plans, and they know exactly who needs what and who understands how. And I like the idea of the individual learning plan. I think it's a great tool and gives an advantage to an online situation. However, I think that the individual learning plan also produces some negative effects. Standard H refers to standards-based learning goals. And the way I read that is, at least in Pennsylvania, we have very strict standards that students are expected to meet, and teachers are taught and work with these standards daily and for years. And for parents to come in and say, well, I think I know what's best for my student, and I need to be a part of developing this individual learning plan, I think that takes away from a little bit of the professionalism that teachers should have as far as developing what is needed for students to meet these standards. It's just a better understanding. So I think parents need to be a part of the education, but as far as deciding what students need, I think it's very hard for them to be objective when it comes to making decisions for their own children. So I think that could be a pretty heavy con in my understanding. So this is my overview for Module 1. I look forward to having some feedback, and I wish everybody good luck over the semester. Thank you.